we're gonna go look at the hot rod I'm building, and all the ideas that I have going into it, a lot of the parts that I've already purchased for it, and the stage it's in now, and the direction we're gonna be heading with it.
Cool. All right.
I'm Russell. Welcome to Russell's Garage. This is a 1929 Ford Model A two-door coupe.
Now, is it all steel or is it a
It's all
kit?
steel. This is all steel, Henry Ford steel body. I took the patent tag off because we're in the process of painting it. But this is 100% 1929 steel body.
And
It's original 29 chassis that is boxed and tubed to support the horsepower that it has in it.
I see you've decided to go with the full venue of Henry Ford's color choices for this car. You could get it in any color as long as it was black. So they're staying with that. And one of the things which is cool, people look at these cars all the time. Why is this there? Because people don't realize something.
This is the original gas tank, which for a big motor, that's the pepcock that will be being removed, because the motor that was in this was a flat 4. They were gravity fed, and this is where the fuel used to come out to the carburetor.
Safety issue too. Probably not a good time in this day and age to have your firewall be your fuel tank.
Yeah, it's not much better for the option that I have for the fuel tank, but it's in the back, so.
And does this have the Ford air conditioning?
It sure does.
And this is pretty standard for the year.
Yeah.
Whoop. Oh, if you can reach it. And if you can't, there you go. So this is your standard original Ford air conditioning. Whoop. Oh, I'm sorry I asked. There you go. So this is how they did air conditioning. And hopefully you didn't have a vented cap, because then you got some really nice fuel fumes in as well.
Yeah.
So this is aftermarket. They didn't have this,
No,
correct?
that
Is that real?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
You could get it with the option of this and without this.
Wow. So this is period correct.
Yes.
I mean,
top is it was redone in the 60s.
Is it cloth still?
No, it's vinyl.
Vinyl.
It's
Okay.
vinyl with the chicken wire, because everyone don't understand, these cars are mostly wood.
Right.
They have a steel structure, but all of these behind, all of this in here is wood. All around here is wood.
So it's like metal filled with wood.
Yes. The skeleton of the car is wood.
Okay, and then they would build the metal pieces, bond them to the wood frame and somehow.
And
Or-
see, these bodies weren't actually built by Henry Ford. They were built by coach companies. So this is they did have a body by Ford, and the difference is this is a Briggs body because it curves here.
Okay.
The other difference is this would be a straight edge.
So if it was Ford, it would be a sharp
straight,
corner.
Yeah, right on this part of the window.
Okay, so this would be a sharp
But this
corner.
is a Bridges body,
Okay.
which was another coach builder for Fords back in that.
Okay, and they were real actual coach builders.
Yes.
Not like coach, like we think like buses are coaches. They were like coaches that would have real horses in the front.
And then everybody, doesn't understand how you tell a 30 and 31 from a 28, 29 is the cowl.
Okay.
This has this much for a 28, 29, where the cowl is even with a 31, 30, 31.
Okay.
So that's how you can tell the difference between. And then here's another fun fact. If you look on the door handle over here, you have a key slot to unlock the door. On the left side, there isn't one. Do you know why?
No.
Because back in the 20s and 30s, it was not legal to exit on the driver's side.
You had to exit to the sidewalk?
To the sidewalk. So that's why they made the locking of the vehicle from the passenger side.
Now, do the rear windows, do they crank up and down, or they?
They roll fully down.
Oh wow, okay.
And I did change the front seats. The story of this car
Yeah, how'd you get it? Tell us a little bit about how to end up here.
Well, the car belonged to a friend of my stepmother's brother, which would be my uncle. And he started this build in 1960 with his son. So the car has a 66 Corvette rear end in it, and it has a 65 Corvair front end for the rack and pinion.
Because that was before Mustang 2. Everybody
Before
used Mustang
Mustang
2, but
Back then, you got stuff out of the junkyard, and that's how you built these stuff. You couldn't buy the stuff off the street.
right.
So this is when the build was originated. It had a 289 in it when my dad bought it, but it was seized up. And it sat in this barn for many, many years because he started this project with his son who went off to Vietnam, and he got killed in Vietnam, and his dad couldn't do anything else with the car.
So it is a barn find, guys.
And when my dad went to look at this car, it had so much dust on it, he couldn't even tell the color.
So it kind of looks like this.
It looked like that. They thought it was actually gray until they cleaned it up. And my father had it painted around the same time this one was. It wasn't the greatest paint job. And from it sitting up in Michigan in the barn for 6 years, the mice had gotten into it. They urinated in here, so I had to do metal patches on each side of the cowl from the urination.
Wow.
I had to rip out all the insulation. I put new carpet in it when I put a new wiring harness in it because it actually caught fire on me.
Obviously, you have like the grill and the
Yeah.
pieces here. They're just in there. Now, tire-wise, the spokes, which were really popular back in the late 60s and stuff, were those you added?
I just bought these ones because my dad talked about liking these ones, and I'm trying to go in his vision that we discussed.
Okay.
This car originally had Daytons on it, and my dad was driving it, and the right one flew off because they were the knock-ons.
Right. Oh, the real knockoff.
Yeah, so he ended up putting these true spokes on, and
Okay.
I like them, but my vision now with the car is I'm probably not going to run the full hood on it.
Right.
I'm going to probably have just the top on. And I wanted to go with, it had 14s in the front, 15s in the back. I went with 15 all the way around because the disc brake conversion I'm going to do to the front requires 15.
Okay.
And
Now, you have the front sheet metal, so if you wanted to put the cows on either
the
side.
hood's up there,
Okay.
and the running boards are sitting up there.
Okay.
There's the front fenders right there.
Okay. So the pieces are there. You're not
Everything's
getting rid
here.
of them.
No,
You're
I'm not
just,
getting rid of them.
So, and then was this the transmission that came with it?
That's a C4 Ford transmission.
Okay.
Because we're sticking to the pier. It's a Ford.
Right.
It needs a Ford
Right.
drivetrain. Most of these, when they do the build, they'll do an independent front suspension and a straight axle rear. This is four-wheel independent. How you buy cars now, the front and back are independent suspension. So this thing handles really nice for a short wheelbase car.
And it doesn't have power steering, but you don't need power
No.
steering. This car is going to weigh, what, about 2,200 pounds at the most
Yep.
with
Yeah.
the engine in it?
You don't even tell that you don't have power steering or power brakes on it. It has disc brakes in the back, drums now. I have a conversion kit to do the discs in the front of it.
So, and then, so this is the front end that came out of a Corvair.
Yeah, this part is the Corvair cross member.
Okay.
This is your original 29. And then, of course, the engine and subframe up there had to be fabricated. But these are the original 29. I am not going to run a front bumper, so these brackets are going to come
Okay.
off because it looks a lot better.
And even though it's an original car, the wiring harnesses obviously are not original because the wiring that would come with this car was that stuff that was like you would find in a 1929
I
house.
just replaced this wiring harness. It's all brand new because the old wiring harness that was in here actually caught fire on me. They had it wire nutted together, and it was fiber, it was brittle and everything. So the
Right.
whole car has been rewired with a quick wire harness.
Which also is nice because now you don't have to use a generator. You can actually use an alternator,
Right.
correct?
It had already been converted to 12
Okay.
volt when they did it in the 60s with that 289.
Okay.
But the wiring harness they did, it was just wire nutted, pieced together here, there. It actually had for the gauges extension cord on the back of it because I put a whole new gauge set with all the 6 gauges in it because it didn't have a fuel gauge, and it had a fuel gauge but it wasn't hooked up. So I put with the new tank that's in the back that I'm putting in, and the speedometer was way down there, and it didn't have a temperature gauge or nothing. So
Now, has this got the rumble seat in the back?
no, this is a
This is the
this is,
5-window, right?
not a-
Or
this
actually,
is a
6
two-door coupe.
Okay.
Or sedan, two-door sedan is what it is.
Okay.
So it doesn't, it's not like, it doesn't have the rumble.
So this has, to me, like I'm a kid of the 70s. I was a kid in the 70s. I was a teenager in the 80s, but in the 70s, a lot of the Hot Wheel cars and the models cars. I remember that Red Baron monogram model,
Yeah.
and they all have this really cool, like this back end, like just looks so mobster.
I know.
And it's perfect for like if you want to put any kind of anything here. If you don't, it's also cool.
Well, I have the rack and the trunk that goes in the back. The trunk's actually inside the car.
And this is your fuel tank,
That's
fuel
the
cell.
I fabbed up the brackets and everything for it. And the 29. I love the style of it. I actually drove it to work regularly until I tore it apart to redo it. And now I'm just trying to modernize it, bring it up to today's standards, and just make a really cool car.
I would walk around with it and just show it real quick, like do a.
It's in the
like
stages of being painted right now. It wasn't a horrible paint job, but it just needed to be up to date. It was a older paint job. I bought more muscular wheels for it. It had the spokes. I like the spokes, but these wheels just make it look more of what it is, a hot rod, instead of just a classic. So, and we're running a 66 Corvair 427 posi rear end in it, and we have a 65 Corvair front end in it. So the car has independent 4-corner suspension, and it handles very well. These are the old spoke wheels that were on it, which they're nice, but with the brake conversion I needed to do, I needed to have 15-inch rims in the front, and it was running 14s. So that's where we're at with this car. And now I'm going to show you a little of the eye candy that's going to be under the hood. Look more of what it is, a hot rod, instead of just a classic. So, and we're running a 66 Corvair 427 posi rear end in it, and we have a 65 Corvair front end in it. So the car has independent 4-corner suspension, and it handles very well. These are the old spoke wheels that were on it, which they're nice, but with the brake conversion I needed to do, I needed to have 15-inch rims in the front, and it was running 14s. So that's where we're at with this car. And now I'm going to show you a little of the eye candy that's going to be under the hood.
Here, I'll grab that. So it's a little hard to do one-handed in here.
So here is the motor. This is a 1977 Ford 302. Came out of a truck, actually. It's bored over, 40 over. It has a high horsepower cop cam in it. It's actually about a 309 with the specs on it. And you'll see in the video of it running and hearing it, but it's probably around about 450 horsepower. It's dusty. That's what
So tell me about what's going on top end. What kind of?
So we have a Street Warrior intake with it has a 4-barrel Holley carburetor that'll be on it. I got the Protronic distributor system. I love those things. They're ready to run. Don't need a electronic box or anything. 12 volts, it runs, and it has a lot of juices in it. I got a chrome alternator on that side. I'm running a high flow aluminum water pump from Jags. Most of my stuff I got from Jags. I talked to the guy. I have a high flow Holley fuel pump on it, and that's all the shiny stuff. The internals are, an engine rebuild kit that I got from CJ Ponies, and it was sent off to the machine shop. The heads have been redone. It's got a 450 lift on them.
What's compression?
10 to 1.
10 to 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys taking the time, and you're to see the video of the motor running. It's actually running out of this box with a homemade engine stand to crank it up. So I hope you guys enjoy seeing that. And stay tuned to the channel to look for the install, the finishing of the 29, the first startup, and the first drive. So like, share, subscribe.
Still a little bit warm from when I ran it before.